Hello to all my friends and family, and welcome to this episode of my Greek Orthodox Odyssey. Christos Anesti, Christ is risen. It's Easter Sunday, and I've just put on the lamb on the spit here, and just going to be waiting for the next 2 or 3 hours for it to cook, and we're going to celebrate Easter like we normally do, with friends and family coming over and having a feast. Last night at midnight we went to church and celebrated the midnight mass, where we declared Christos Anesti, and people responded with Alithos Anesti. So just to chat a little bit more about this particular statement and its meaning is very, very important, because a number of people utter the declaration of Christos Anesti, but they don't really understand the depth of the meaning behind it. Because at the end of the day, a simple question is, for all of us, what is the significance of Christ's resurrection? What does it matter? What's in it for me? And what I'd love to do today is just to take a metaphor and use an analogy. And the Greek Orthodox and many other denominations throughout the world use a similar sort of analogy. But what I'd like to do today is to describe and to explain the significance of this particular thing that I'm holding in my hand. As you can see, it's a red egg. It's an Easter egg. And you may ask yourself, what is the significance of a red egg? Why do Greek Orthodox use a red egg, and why do they crack them at Easter and say the words Christos Anesti? I think the importance of the egg is really significant, and I will try my best to convey my understanding in a simple way, to try and describe something which is both simple, complex and complicated. So as we know from the scriptures, Jesus was crucified and he was hung upon the cross at 12 midday or thereabouts on Good Friday. And by 3 o'clock he had given up his spirit. He had died on the cross, and when the soldiers came to check, they speared him on the right hand side, and out came both blood and water. And because it was hours before the Sabbath commenced, but not only the Sabbath, a very significant Sabbath, it was a Sabbath of the Passover, the instructions that the soldiers, the garrison had, was to break the legs, the thigh bones and the shin bones of whoever was on the cross and still alive, because by breaking the bones it caused a huge hematoma, and people would soon after that die. So because Jesus had already died, they broke the legs of the two thieves, the good thief and the bad thief, and they died as well. So Jesus died at 3 p.m. or thereabouts. They didn't have clocks and watches in those days, but they used the position of the sun in the sky. And the message from the church is that when Jesus died, his soul descended into a place called Hades. And Hades in Greek means a place of emptiness. Hades from the word adio, empty. So after Adam and Eve were expelled from paradise, all of the souls of all of the people who ever died went to a place called Hades, because the human body became perishable and the human became mortal, which meant that physically there was a death where the body would separate from the soul. But because Adam and Eve were expelled from paradise, God placed the archangel Michael with his sword, his fiery sword, at the gates of paradise. And the gates of paradise, the gates of heaven, were closed. So all souls of people who died went to a place called Hades, which is a place of darkness, of silence, and of spiritual death, devoid of connection with God. And the first one to go to Hades was Abel, the shepherd Abel, who was murdered by his brother Cain, the sons of Noah and Eve. And all souls went to this place called Hades. And what happened on Easter Saturday was Jesus descended into Hades and annihilated the doors of Hades. So what he did was he conquered death through death. So by descending into Hades, what he did was he smashed the doors, annihilated the locks, so that from that point on, no other body was captured and imprisoned in this place called Hades. And for that reason, we crack the egg to symbolise the annihilation of Hades and the end of spiritual death. So when Jesus descended into Hades, he preached to all of the souls of the righteous and the unrighteous, and those who wanted to be one with God followed him and were raised to heaven, because the gates of heaven were opened at the resurrection. So the importance of the resurrection is not only that Jesus resurrected, but he ended spiritual death for all people and enabled the human spirit to either go directly to heaven, so the people who are in heaven are the saints of the church and those who have lived saintly lives, and the gates of hell are still closed. They will open, according to the church fathers, when the second coming happens and Jesus comes to judge the living and the dead. So at the second coming, our bodies, our transfigured bodies, will reunite with our spirits, and we will be judged both body and soul. And some who want to be one with God, who have had a life dedicated to God, will or may go to heaven, and others will go to the other place. So what happens to the people who are not in heaven at the moment, the souls that are not in heaven? Not everybody will go to heaven. Not everybody in Hades went to heaven, because there are some who chose not to be one with God. What happens is that there is a transition phase, a place where the souls receive, according to their works, according to their life, a foretaste of heaven or a foretaste of hell. And hell simply is a place separate from God. Anyway, I hope that helped. It is an interesting topic, a topic that I love talking about, and we'll chat again soon. Take care, everybody. You're still so nasty once again, and we'll chat again. Bye for now.